There are certain lessons that took me years to learn, and if someone had sat me down and explained to me earlier, I would probably have saved myself a lot of stress, a lot of confusion, a lot of overthinking, and unnecessary pressure. Some of the things that I'm going to share today actually came from my own mistakes, from things that I lost, from heartbreaks, from trying to become the best person that I could possibly be. And while I can't go back to tell my younger self about these things, maybe I can tell you. So here are 10 things I really wish I knew when I was younger. The first thing I wish I knew earlier, it's all about motivation because a lot of people say that motivation creates results, and I would like to disagree to some extent. I always reference to successful people because I hear them a lot, but also because when I was younger, I really thought that the reason why successful people are successful is because they are very much motivated, and that sometimes is not exactly how it works. It's not that they are motivated every single day, especially when you understand that motivation is actually an emotion and is not going to be there all the time. You start realizing that actually your life doesn't depend on it, or it shouldn't depend on it, which really made me understand that people that actually progress, they are not necessarily like motivated all the time, but they are very good in creating systems. And not just systems, but also routines. Because when you wake up every day and you actually realize that it's easy, like you have a routine fix and it's very easy for you to do something, you just do it naturally. It's like that is now your autopilot, and that is what you wake up with the goal to do. So then it becomes much easier. So I wouldn't say that it's related to motivation, but it's more related to discipline. And I had a conversation about this with someone that actually told me that discipline is when you actually start making decisions before your emotions start getting involved. And that is like the best advice ever, because that is literally what discipline does to you. I'm someone that I sit down and I have many goals. I like to have goals and I like to look at them and actually reach them. But I won't be able to do that if I don't have systems, because sometimes you just wake up and you want to be lazy. You don't necessarily want to be working towards your goals or doing anything in regards to that, or to do anything in regards to your future. But if I have systems in place, I don't need to rely on motivation. And honestly, learning that changed everything, because I stopped waiting to feel ready and I stopped waiting on motivation. But building systems can actually help you move forward. Now, this one is something that everyone speaks about, is about being confident in yourself. And I think that this really gets misunderstood a lot, because people, when they talk about confidence, they often focus on the external things: wear better clothes, do your hair, do your makeup. Even the other day I was watching something and they said improve your posture. And yes, while those things can actually help you and can actually make you feel good, they are not the foundation of confidence, in my opinion. People that are around me and I observe them and how confident they are not confident because of how they look, but they are confident because they trust themselves. And trust is built through evidence. So think about it and think with me. If you had a friend who constantly made promises and never followed through, would you trust them? Of course not. Neither you, neither me. So why would you trust yourself if you're constantly breaking promises to yourself? And when I think about it, the whole topic of confidence starts changing for me when I stopped focusing on looking confident, but actually start focusing on becoming reliable with myself. When I say I was going to do something, I did it. When I said I would wake up early, I did. When I said I would work on the goal, I did. So whatever I said I would finish, I actually finished it. And little by little, I start improving myself because my word with myself would stand. And that's where real confidence comes from, not from perfectionism or even becoming good on the outside, but knowing when you tell yourself you're going to do something, you can trust that you're actually going to do it because you follow through. So when I was young, we constantly asked what we're going to do with our lives, and we have to choose it from a very young age, what we're going to do, what career path are we going to take. I do believe that sometimes because you have to choose it so quickly, whatever you choose starts to become your identity. You stop saying I work in this field and you start saying this is who I am. And I remember reaching a point where I thought my entire future had already been decided because I decided to do my course and I had chosen a path already. I had invested time on it. I had done my university, my master's degree. I had worked towards it. So surely I had to stick with it forever. But during COVID, life happened and I actually changed all my interests. Whatever career path I was going through is no longer what I want to do. And I completely changed my priorities and I changed everything. And strangely, I found myself in a strange place because part of me wanted to explore different opportunities, but part of me wanted something new. And another part of me felt guilty. But here's what I really wished someone had told me earlier, that you are allowed to change and you are allowed to change your career path, your ideas, your interests even. You are allowed to discover new things and you are allowed to grow beyond the plans you have made years ago. Will you have to be strategic about it? Absolutely. Will it require courage from you? Definitely. Your entire identity is attached to one thing. The moment that thing disappears, you will feel like you've lost yourself. So know you are outside of whatever you do because that matters far more. Now this one, everyone talks about it, but I even think that whatever it's talked is not talked enough. Is that every single person influences you. Every single one, whether you realize it or not. The people you have around you shape what becomes normal to you. They shape your standards, they shape your mindset, your habits, your expectations. And if everyone around you is constantly complaining, eventually you will start complaining more. If you are around everyone that settles for less, you will start settling for less as well. This is so important and this is so true because sometimes it happens and we don't even notice it. On the other hand, when you are around people who inspire you, who challenge you, who encourage you and push you to become better, you will start growing eventually. You will start thinking different. You will start dreaming differently. So no, I'm not saying for you to go and start leaving your friends. That's not what I'm saying. But choose your friends wisely. And not just that, but observe who is around you and start eliminating anyone that's not going to contribute to who you want to be, because you very much become the reflection of the environment you spend the most time in. So again, choose wisely. For a long time, a very long time, I really thought that being busy meant I was doing well. That if my calendar was full, then I felt important. If I was constantly rushing around, then I felt productive. And if I was exhausted, I convinced myself I was working hard. But eventually, I realized something. Being busy and being productive are not always the same thing. And you can spend 12 hours being busy and thinking that you are productive and still be avoiding the one thing you actually need to do. And you know what's deep is that you can feel every single hour of your day and still make very little progress. So sometimes we are not productive. We are actually distracted. We are reacting instead of planning, and we become those type of people that say yes to everything because sometimes we're trying to prove something and eventually it catches up to us, because burnout is not always caused by working hard. Sometimes it's caused by working without intention. Now I'd rather spend an hour doing the right thing than spend 10 hours doing random things, because productivity isn't about doing more, it's about doing what matters most. Now, this lesson has changed many of my relationships because growing up, many of us learned one of two things. Either we learned not to ask for anything because we don't want to be a burden, or we learned that asking doesn't work because we keep hearing no. So eventually we stop expressing our needs altogether, and the problem with that is that we take that behavior into adulthood. And then we expect people to somehow know what we need. We expect our friends to know, we expect our family to know, we expect our partner to know, and when they don't, we actually feel very disappointed. But the reality here is that people are not mind readers. No one is going to know what you want if you don't tell them. Yes, people can love you. Yes, they can care very much about you and they can care about your intention and they can want the best for you, but they cannot respond to your needs if you never communicated that to them. So communication Communication is one of the most powerful skills you can develop, because when your communication is clear, people actually have a chance to understand you. And maybe they not always agree or be able to help, but at least you've given them the opportunity to do it in case they want to. So do not expect people to guess, actually tell them. One of the things I really wish I understood earlier is how important self-aware is when choosing your friendships, because when you don't know who you are, it's very easy for other people to tell you who you are or who you should be, and you will start changing part of yourself to fit in. You will start laughing at things you don't find funny, and you will start agreeing with things you don't actually believe, and little by little you start losing yourself, not because you are a bad person, but because you are searching to belong. And the problem is that belonging should never come at the cost of your authenticity. When you know who you are, things become much simpler. When you know your values, when you know your boundaries, when you know what matters to you and what doesn't, then suddenly other people's opinions start losing a lot of power over you. And a quick example is that if I like guacamole and someone tells me it's disgusting, I'm still going to eat it. Why? Because I like it. So their opinion are not going to change my reality. But when you don't know who you are, every opinion feels important. Every criticism feels personal. Every disagreement feels confusing. We live in a world that there's information all around it. We have access to books, to podcasts, to videos, to courses, to experts. Information is literally everywhere. You have to be very careful. Is that knowledge alone does not change your life. Action does. I know people who have read dozens of self-improvement books but never apply what they learned. I know people who consume motivational content every single day but never take action. And honestly, I've been guilty of this too. Sometimes learning feels like you are being productive. It feels like progress, but learning and applying are not the same thing. I can know that you doing exercises improves health, but that doesn't mean I'm exercising. I can know that it's very important for you to sleep, but that doesn't mean I'm sleeping enough. I can know how to improve my life and I'm not doing anything about it. So the gap between knowledge and doing is where most people get stuck. So every time you learn something valuable, ask yourself, what am I actually going to do with this information? Because one piece of advice applied is worth than you knowing hundreds of pieces of advice and ignore all of them. One important lesson I still have to remind myself of: I like certainty, I like plans, I like knowing what's going on or what's going to happen, and when things feel uncertain, my brain immediately wants to find a way to control the situation. Maybe you relate to that or maybe not, but the problem is that life doesn't always give us certainty. Sometimes we don't know what's going to happen. Sometimes we don't know if things will work out. Sometimes we are waiting for answers, and that uncertainty creates so much anxiety. But one thing I've learned is that anxiety often grows when we try to control everything and we want to know everything, but we can't control what other people think. We can't control what others say about you. You can't control the overall outcome. You can't control every opportunity, and you can't control every response. But you can control your attitude. You can't control your character. You can't control your attitudes. And sometimes peace comes from accepting that it's not everything that is yours to carry, and what's meant for you won't pass you by. And what passes you by was never yours in the first place. One thing I wish I knew early is that success is incredibly personal, because when most people hear the word success, they immediately think about money. And don't get me wrong, money matters. It creates opportunities, it solves problems, it gives you freedom, but money alone does not guarantee fulfillment. I've seen people achieving everything they thought they wanted and still feel empty because they were chasing someone else's version of success, not their own. And I think social media has made this very hard, because every day we exposed to other people's achievements, other people's lifestyles, other people's milestones, and without realizing it, we start copying their goals. We start thinking, oh, I want that life, oh, I want what they have, oh, I want their success. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself what success actually means to you? For some people, success is building a business. For others, it means raising a family. For some, it means travel the world. For others, it means having peace, freedom, creativity. The point is that success isn't a one-size-fits-all, and if you don't define it for yourself, the world will define it for you, and that's a very dangerous place to be. Looking back, I don't don't regret knowing these things sooner. I think every lesson arrives when we finally ready to understand it. But if you are watching this and you're feeling lost, confused, behind in life, or unsure about where you're going, I want you to remember something. You don't need to have everything figured out. Most people don't. The people who look like they have it all figured out are often figuring things out as they go. So keep learning, keep growing, keep asking questions, and don't be afraid to change. Always remember that you are allowed to change directions and you are allowed to redefine success. If any of these lessons resonate with you, let me know in the comments which one hit you the hardest. And if you're on your own personal growth journey, don't forget to subscribe, because that's exactly what we're talking about here. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.